What is going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? The ACMGS Gamer here. Today we're here to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, the combat gameplay overview. This is the third article and the third video that I've done on this topic. This basically was a series that they've been coming out with over the past couple of months, going over what you can expect in the new game to come. So with that being said, let's jump into the combat. Offensive basics. Remember that choosing to fight as Naoe or Yasuke, as well as your choice of weapon, can alter the building blocks. So we have light attacks and heavy attacks. Light attacks, quick, fluid, reliable, small increments of damage. Some enemy archetypes can power through them and land attacks of their own, so be careful. Heavy attacks, packing a bit more strength. Heavy attacks inflict higher damage on most enemies, useful to stagger them and create some space around you. So light and heavy, I'm assuming it's going to be RB or R1, and then heavy attacks are going to be R2 or RT. And then we have posture attacks, where basically if you hold the input on the right bumpers, or the right triggers, if you will, you do a posture attack, which can be held indefinitely, allowing you to adjust your distances or change targets. All posture attacks are great at breaking through an enemy's blocking stance, breaking their guard instantly. And then they say light attacks can be postured a bit faster than heavier attacks. Heavy posture attacks pack one hell of a punch. If you get the timing right, take note though, enemies will watch out for posture attacks and attempt to prevent you from charging them. So make sure you keep your eyes out. Mixing light, heavy, and posture attacks is the best way to build up different types of complex combos. So that looked like a light. That looks like a charged. And then another light, maybe? Oh, no, he didn't do it. He just did two. Okay, cool. So then we have a vulnerable state. Under certain conditions, such as perfect dodge, an enemy can be put in a vulnerable state, a short window in which they can be dealt devastating damage. This vulnerable state is perfect opportunity to counterattack by unleashing a posture attack or an active ability for maximum damage. Defense basics. There are a few different ways in which they can defend themselves, some unique to each protagonist. Here's a quick roundup. We have dodge. Both characters can use directional dodges to avoid incoming blows. Naoe's dodges are characterized by directional rolls, whereas Yasuke's are directional steps to keep his stature upright. Both characters are very reactive. Yasuke's second consecutive directional dodge step has a slight recovery period, which Naoe doesn't have because she's shorter. So right there, it's telling me that even though Naoe has less armor, she's more nimble, she's quicker. If you want to use her when you're in a direct fight and you're dodging, there's not a recovery period like Yasuke has. Parry/deflect. Both characters share similar mechanics under the parry deflection umbrella. Results vary slightly for each of them. Yasuke's parry mechanic happens on a straight line. When a parry is successful, the enemy bounces back, opening themselves to counterattacks. In short, Yasuke does not back down and does not concede terrain. Naoe's deflect mechanic requires similar timing but sees her pivot to either side of the enemy, deflecting their attacks away from her. This changes the axis of combat and exposes the enemy's flanks, but also means that she opens up herself to surrounding enemies, pushing you to always stay alert. So this is, I don't know if they're going to show both. This looks like you parry, and then you open them up. And then she parries, but then she's open. Okay, interesting. Block. Unique to Yasuke, block mechanics allow him to turtle up behind his weapon with stand attacks, including incoming arrows or kunai, except for unstoppable attacks, which are detailed further below. I'm assuming they're the red ones. These subtle differences in attack and defense are really what makes the control of each character unique. So that's the thing. I don't think Naoe can block. Skills and ability, unless I'm wrong. Unique to Yasuke, yeah, so Naoe can't block. Interesting. Skills and abilities. Let's see. Progression later. Gaining levels and defeating specific foes will reward you mastery points, which you can spend in the mastery trees to unlock weapon-based skills and abilities. Amongst other things, progression loop will allow you to put your skills to the test by facing strong opponents, be rewarded with new moves to learn. See, this is also another thing I don't like. Not only do I not like the look of the combat or the controls of the combat, because it's RPG style and not old school style. Again, we're given a tree, a mastery tree that unlocks weapon-based skills. to me that doesn't make any sense, because if you wanted to hit up the real world, you would do it in a way like Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, where either through story progression and the character learning it, or like in AC2 where Ezio can go back to the training mat and literally learn new moves as well as tutorials to teach the player how to do something, instead of going to a random tree in a menu and unlocking something. It's not, to me, that's not immersive. I know it's what a lot of like RPGs do these days, but to me it would just mean so much if we didn't have these basic skill points that we put into a menu, because that are active based, because that's another one of my issues, is active based skills. Now if we had a skill tree that unlocked passive abilities, that's a different thing. I wouldn't mind the passive abilities depending on what they are, because even if they were like, I think in Origins you had, yes, there was a skill tree, and yes, you unlocked passive abilities. What would have made Origins better would have been if he went to a training ground or to someone that trained him in those different abilities instead of just outright unlocking them, if that makes sense. I hate the idea of an Assassin's Creed game having a skill tree where you just put points into a menu. That's fine for any other RPG, to be honest. But I mean, in the real, it's an immersion thing. It should be in every game that to further the evolution of gameplay, that if you want to unlock a certain skill, you should have to go to a certain place, like a hideout, which they have in the game, and be able to train that skill through a tutorial. That way, the game is giving you new things to do as the game progresses, if that makes sense. Because that's what you want. You don't want the game to give you everything at the beginning of the story, and then you just powerhouse your way through a 50-hour game with no new skills and no new tutorials and nothing that evolutionizes the gameplay or evolves the gameplay. That's why Ragnarok did something really good, where at every kind of major step of the way, you were given a new weapon, a new form of gameplay. Something was designed in that area with that new thing to keep you on your toes. You'd be like, oh, now I can go back to the beginning and redo all of those things I didn't know what they were. That's a version of skill points that how they should be done. Anyways, so let's look at this. Now see, through a menu, in real life he wouldn't have known how to do that. He would have had to read a book or trained. But they just give it to him because it's a skill point. Active abilities are by far the most powerful skills to require. Don't like that. They look cool, they hit hard, and they offer all additional opportunities like gap closing, armor breaking, even health regen. I don't care about any of that, I'm sorry. This is the main reason I'm not purchasing the game, is the active abilities, on top of everything else. Because I don't like this style of combat. Players can also earn passive skills which will work in the background to make you more efficient and powerful in combat. These include adrenaline regen increase, basic health increase, time dilation for longer window of opportunities, and more. 2 protagonists, we know this. Let's see. Samurai and Shinobi, respectively, they each have their own weapon types and abilities that make them feel very different. She's no pushover when it comes to combat. Quick and agile, she can make short work of a single enemy with her barrage of attacks, but as the number of enemies increases, she will be a significant disadvantage due to her lack of armor and limited combat resources. At the opposite spectrum, Yasuke stands in stalwart warrior ready for prolonged knockdown, drag-out combat scenarios. The last of his combos will break an enemy's guard without relying on posture attacks. I guess you have to have a posture attack to break an enemy's guard with Naue. While both characters can carry 2 weapons and switch between them in combat, Yasuke is also the only protagonist with the ability to switch weapons mid-combo via the Link Attack ability, which allows him to rapidly string together attacks and weapon abilities in a continuous flow. Yasuke has a few unique samurai tricks up his sleeves. One of them is the sheathed posture attack, where he will charge up an opening attack while his katana is still in its sheath. Very Ghost of Tsushima. On top of looking quite iconic, most enemies won't see that one coming if timed correctly. Let me get very much so like Ghost of Tsushima. Yep. 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 Alright. Weapons. Both protect... Let's just go into it. Naoe. Katana. Well-balanced, versatile, offers good balance of speed, damage output, and defense. Well-timed attacks can stagger enemies' opening windows for posture attacks. Katana unlocks the ability to assassinate enemies through shoji doors. Very interesting. Kisuga... I shouldn't even attempt this. Fearsome is Naoe's best option for crowd control. Extendable ball and chain can reach enemies at a distance. Yeah, we've seen this. I mean, I hope you guys would have seen this before. Excuse me. Okay. Tanto and the Hidden Blade. Hidden Blade combat marks its return with combined Tanto dagger, whirling slashes, lightning fast stabs. It is the ideal weapon for that striking retreat, death by a thousand cuts playstyle. They unlock the ability to perform a double assassination.
Never underestimate an eagle.
Never underestimate an eagle. So Yasuke has a long katana, equally efficient in attack and defense, excellent choice for one-on-one duel in the middle of a large-scale skirmish. So you can see the active skills on the right with the right trigger. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't really care for this combat either. Like, just the look of it, I'm just not interested, man. I'm really not. Naginata, sporting sharp-bladed tip. It's his weapon of choice for crowd control. Very efficient keeping enemies at bay as well as dealing damage to enemies through surrounding you. Kanabo, which is his bow, the Yumi bow. We've seen that before. Teppo rifle. Flint rifle combines destructive power with high lethality. Raw power offers more range than the bow and great armor penetration. Slow fire rate, even slower reload time. It's a good opener when you don't mind being noticed. Mastering a weapon takes time and dedication. Players gain experience for combat, earning mastery points that can be spent on their favorite weapon type. So you have to unlock skill points for different weapons to unlock new abilities. Yeah, no, I'm good. Know your enemies. As you progress to discover new locations, you'll encounter stronger, tougher enemies. New abilities equal new challenges. Let's see. Outlaws are opportunists that prey on the weak. Make up for the usual tactics. Beware of the brutes who can still be incredibly deadly. Different soldiers, Ronin, Samurai, Daisho, Guardians. What are the Guardians? Elite group of badass samurai, reinforcements when the alarm is raised in any given province. White manes and face masks. Aim to strike fear in opponents, offer some of the most difficult combat. Oh, great. You can study and recognize patterns. They have flurry attacks, unstoppable attacks, which we know by the red indicator. So the blue are all blockable. Is he going to do a red attack? Yep. Yep, yep. Just like in Tsushima. Yep. And then defense actions, and this is the last thing for this article. While under attack, enemies have a variety of reactions available to them to attempt a momentum shift. These are called defensive actions. They can vary from the simple step back that avoids a single blow all the way to lightning fast, unstoppable counterattacks that will challenge your nerves. The more enemies are involved in a fight, the less defensive actions each of them will perform. Confident that their numbers will be enough to overwhelm you. One-on-one duel against a highly skilled warrior, defensive actions will be numerous and nearly constant, pushing you to diversify your attacks and utilize every move you've learned along the way. So then, that is all for this episode of this article. We will be back with the last and final article they've unleashed so far with parkour. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.